Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Show, the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. It is your host, David McCaig, and I'm here inside Northern Superior Brewery Tap Room, where it's a lively atmosphere here inside the tap room. Got men in suits, women in very dressy clothes, and yours truly in just jeans and a white t-shirt. But either way, it's October the 3rd, 2019, so it's fall weather, and it's almost Thanksgiving. It's almost Halloween. A lot of things going on this month, but what other things are going on more than local sports and professional sports? And you're tuned in to the right show. Get caught up on that here on the Game Sports Show. You're listening to the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.com, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or through our YouTube channel, Facebook page, or Instagram page at The Game Sports Show, or you may have been directed here through one of our sponsors. That includes Northern Superior Brewing Company's Facebook page, Sault Online on TVs, or even ESPN 1400's stream. Either way, we're very happy they're able to join us for our action-packed show. And I will give a quick reminder that we did not have a show yesterday from Sports Center Bar and Grill due to some schedule conflict, so we are combining that in the pocket portion of the show onto this show here tonight. You can listen to previous editions of the show from Tuesday on TV on TV's YouTube page, along with on our Podbean page, and as well as our Monday show on ESPN 1400 with myself, Scott, EJ, and Butch Davis. And on the Tuesday show is myself and Alex for that show there, where we talk loads of stuff. And here on this show, we're going to be talking local hockey here right off the start. We're going to have a break. When we come back, it's NHL hockey. And then after that, we have Connor Henderson coming on, our baseball analyst. He's going to be dissecting the MLB playoffs. After that break, we have Daniel Scarpino coming on, the Algoma University soccer coach and the Game Sports Show soccer analyst. And then the final part of the show, after that last break, will be our In the Pocket segment. So we got a lot of things to cover here tonight. And I got one of my main guys here, Matt Premo, who is going to be with me throughout the entirety of the show. And he's going to be doing hockey here with us and for In the Pocket here on tonight's show. Preems, you and I got to talk sports, drink some Northern beer, and then we got to get our asses to the rink and arena because we play each other in the Mayor's Cup tonight. How you doing, my friend?
Well, should be interesting if we have a couple more of these beers. I don't know. Looking forward. It's my first time on here talking hockey. Should be interesting. I don't know if I know enough, but I'll try.
I like that. See, now you're taking place of Alex and Justin. Justin, who just moved into a house, so congratulations there. Alex, who was working, and Dane Hantro's actually in town. A little secret, he is hidden away. He said that he's not ready to come on yet because he heard about some of our new sponsors and all that stuff. He wants to get caught up, so I don't know if he's just scared to come on, a little get more nerves. So I told him, too bad he won't be on, but he will be on next month. I found out that he'll be back on the Game Sports Show, so that's exciting stuff. How can you, after 3 years of being on the show, be nervous because of some of our, all this new outlets that we have?
And headsets.
He hasn't seen those.
He hasn't, and I've heard a lot about Dane. Never met him. I don't know if he actually exists, so hopefully he can make it out sooner.
He's our invisible friend.
Yeah.
We had to make him up sometimes when we were here alone. But here on the game, I want to give a shout out to Scott Nason. He is going to be our board operator tonight. I'm his assistant board operator in that fact. And I hope you enjoyed that new introduction song that we had. And the one that I played there was the beat to No Diggity. Just so everyone knows, we have a lot of instrumental versions. We have some words. We have now inquired into having about 10 new intro songs here on the Game Sports Show. So you're not just going to hear Electric Avenue anymore like you have for the last 5 years. We're transitioning to get some different tunes in there. Throw some tunes into after commercial breaks even, potentially at times. Not on this show because due to our times, but I hope you enjoyed some new beats. You were able to sway your head back and forth before you got to hear our voices. And I must give a shout out here, and I know this comes closely to Primo as well, to Gus Stocco. We talked about Gus on our Monday show and Tuesday in terms of giving condolences towards the GoFundMe page especially. And that page has already exceeded over $20,000 raised. So I want to give a shout out to everybody who went on that GoFundMe page, donated whatever they were able to donate to the Gus Stocco and the family, his two boys and his wife here. And it's great to see, and just to get the community come together. And obviously here on the Game Sports Show, we've expressed our condolences to Gus extremely, and obviously myself and Matt and crew here on the Game Sports Show give our condolences there. Definitely will be missed. And make sure, if you haven't veered over to that GoFundMe page, don't hesitate to do so for the GoFundMe. It's on our Facebook page on the Game Sports Show. It's also on my personal Facebook page. If you feel like giving me a little creep, then click in it, and you can donate some money. It's going towards the young boys' educations for Gus's sons. So moving forward now, though, Preems, we're going to discuss and get into some local hockey. Now, this is your first time doing a hockey segment. I know you know your hockey, but you're quite the football guy. But we're here on the first part of the show. we are going to talk about some NOJHL action. And in the NOJHL, sorry, I almost said NHL there, the Sault Thunderbirds are in action tomorrow night. That is 7:30. They play, that's October the 4th, at the Polar Stadium. And ESPN 1400 will have that aired here on the Game Sports Show. Scott Nason will be on scene airing that for you. Then the Sault Thunderbirds will be off after that until next Thursday. So obviously with the Sault Thunderbirds, they go into action, Preems, this weekend on a little bit of a losing skid. And we haven't been able to see that a lot with the Thunderbirds in our day and age growing up, and even when I was playing and going forward. And Sault Thunderbirds on a little bit of a skid, and they have a big matchup in their border battle against the Eagles.
Yeah, no, I mean, since I started following the Thunderbirds back when I was probably in high school, they've had a lot of success, and they've graduated a lot of players on. Great program, obviously, but, I mean, the season's still young. A lot of teams take a little bit of time to mesh, and I know they have quality players on that team. They have some returning guys from last year. They had a lot of success. Yeah. So I expect them to get it figured out. I mean, it's easy to happen, and hockey is like that. You saw last year the St. Louis Blues, I mean, are kind of really slow out of the gates, and then you get hot, right? And you don't win any championships in September, right, or October. But you got to figure out how to play as a team, and hopefully they get that figured out soon. And I think they got some good players on that team, quality program, great coaching. So I expected them to get it figured out. But it's good to see some parity in that league as well, and see some of these other teams competing. And I mean, it's nice to see like Blind River. Last week they were ranked in the top 20.
Top 20, yeah.
So
Blind River program that's really grown. Kyle Brick does a great job.
Yeah.
Program.
So kudos to them for really growing that program in a small community. And obviously, Sault Ste. Marie is a little bit larger than a lot of the other communities that play in the NOJHL. But no, it's great to see some parity to start the season at least. But I do expect the Thunderbirds to get it turned around, and it'll be an interesting game. If you get a chance, go to Cross River, check out the Pole. It's a great venue to watch the game.
Polar Burger and beer.
Yeah, you can't beat it. So if you get a chance, go out there, support either Sault Eagles or Sault Thunderbirds, and taking some great local hockey.
Definitely. Now the Thunderbirds today, speaking on the Thunderbirds, making a early season splash signing as released by the Thunderbirds Facebook page. The Subway signing alert on there, and that's Anthony Miller being involved in those graphics. Big fan of the show is Anthony, and being a fan guest. The Thunderbirds are pleased to welcome defenseman Owen Garngroth to the lineup. I apologize if I did not say that name incorrectly. He comes to the Sault Thunderbirds from Litchfield, Minnesota. Getting some good United States prospects there to come on up to play here in Sault Ste. Marie. Thunderbirds program is known, and it is still early, and they are extremely hopeful to be able to improve off this slower start. They are behind Sudbury, or should I say Rayside Balfour Canadians, led by David Bowen, Joe Bowen's son, who has been absolutely lights out for Rayside. You can check out Randy Russin's article on Rayside and David Bowen that Joe Bowen actually shared on his Facebook page. Now, speaking of Blind River, before we go to the Eagles, Blind River plays this weekend, and Blind River plays against Kirkland Lake. They're taking that long road trip that everyone loves. Kirkland Lake on Friday, which is tomorrow, 7:30, and then at 7 o'clock against Powassan, and that's on Saturday. Then on Sunday at 3 o'clock, they play against French River Rapids. So that's who they play this weekend. Do the Beavers, as they hope to continue this year on, let's just say, an absolutely perfect start to the season. Basically, they're 6-0-1 in 7 games. That is fantastic for that program. Now, you can also check the Sault Eagles and Blind River and Thunderbirds games on Hockey TV. And as I mentioned, with the Eagles, like I'm going to get to right now, the Eagles play the Sault Thunderbirds on Friday, as I mentioned. Saturday, they play against Elliott Lake in Elliott Lake, and then they are off until Thursday. And that game against Elliott Lake is at 7 o'clock. As I said, you can watch on Hockey TV, or you can tune into ESPN 1400 with Scott Nason, which I do definitely prefer you do. You know, it's getting that live feel in the game. You get to hear the sticks and the pucks and the posts. You get to hear all the fans and everything. But if you're unable to tune in via radio, don't hesitate to veer over to Hockey TV to catch the local action. And just a quick little standings update over in the Eastern Conference. Powassan leading the way with 9-1 so far this year. Rayside number 1 in the West with Blind River in second. Sault Thunderbirds are in third, with the Eagles are in fourth. 3 games under the Thunderbirds right now, and they're only 2-3-1 to start the year, are the Eagles. So check out the NOJHL website if you want to get into some more schedules and needs, and to mark some dates on your calendars and be in touch with all the teams here in Northern Ontario. Transitioning from the Sault Thunderbirds, going to get into Sault College. The Sault College ACHA, they are involved. You can check on their website. They're trying to get the Winter Classic going on with a Division I school. You can check that. There's going to be more media releases in the Game Sports Show, and Sioux Online will be there, and ESPN 1400 will be on location to get you all the news that we need to get you. But speaking of Sioux College, this weekend, Saturday, you have women's soccer. On Saturday, Loyalist plays against Sioux College at Superior Heights, and then that'll be at 1 o'clock at Superior Heights. Hopefully the weather holds up for that game, so you can get on down to check that out. 7 o'clock on Saturday, October the 5th, Sioux College plays against Adrian, a Division II team from Adrian to the Sioux College Cougars, who has started the year 4-0, and Ryan Venderman hasn't missed a beat there as well. Going to Sunday, October the 6th, Fleming plays against Sioux College for women's soccer, 1 o'clock at Superior Heights. 2 o'clock, the men's hockey play against Adrian again, and they are in Adrian for that game. Then at 2:45 for men's soccer, they play against Fleming at Superior Heights at 2:45. So you want to check out some local soccer, you may as well get on down Superior Heights. And you obviously got to keep tabs of, if you want to keep a track of soccer, of Algoma University as well. We'll have Daniel Scarpino here later on in the show to discuss that. Now, Preems, I want to go to you about Sioux College. This program has been doing well, winning last year, the first Canadian team to win a Division III championship. Division II this year, they're 4-0. They went into overtime. That was the tightest contest that they've had in their 2-year existence, and it seems like this team hasn't missed a beat.
Yeah, no, it's exciting to see moving up a division this year. Obviously, competition can be a little bit stiffer. See how they're up, if they're up to the challenge. I mean, last year a lot of their games they were one-sided. And lopsided games, and they kind of. They weren't challenged very much, even when they went on to play the national championship down there in Texas. They kind of had an easy run. So it's interesting now moving up division how they'll manage that and how they'll compete in the Division II. But I mean, a lot of great players on this team. A lot of guys who ex-OHLers, ex-junior players. A lot of local players that from Sault Ste. Marie that were solid players. Some of these guys we get to compete against, even playing a little men's league. So we know what they have to offer, and obviously some highly skilled players. And it's awesome to see them have success. It's nice they have a home bar now at the Rankin.
Yes,
they have their logo on center ice, so it's good to see that program really flourishing and doing well and getting support from the community. And hopefully they continue that success and can make another deep run into the playoffs in Division II.
Definitely. Now those players on Sioux College were some former teammates of mine last year. Now they split up to make their own team, and they're got a different name in our league called the Lakers due to their sponsor there. But it gives a little shout out to Lake Superior State University Lakers, who get their season started too, and they're expecting a big year over there in Lake State. And the Game Sports will be there to cover all the NOJHL for you here locally with Blind River, Sioux Thunderbirds, and the Eagles. Also with Sioux College men's hockey and soccer, obviously, as well as Lake Superior State University and the team that we're going to talk about later, Algoma University. Everything local we got. And also, I'm going to give a shout out here to the Sioux Greyhounds midget program. Jamie Henderson and all that. They had a great weekend this past weekend. Give a check out to the Sioux Junior Greyhounds Midget AAA Facebook page for all their schedule needs as well, to make sure you come out and check out the local talent, really trying to revive that hockey program here in the midget program. They used to be absolutely unstoppable. A little bit of a dry spell last few years. Henderson has put that in the right direction amongst his other staff members. And also with Alex Cruz has done a great job with coaching the program as well. Lane Burton being involved, who's a friend and listener of the show. Great stuff that they have done. And also the Sioux Indians program, the AAA program, has done great starting the year off correctly. Right now, 7-4 record going into action this weekend. Now, I'm going to talk about the OHL due to time constraints. We can't jump into every team as much as we'd like to. We're going to talk about the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, one of our partners here on the Game Sports Show, and through our sister station, Rock 101, through ESPN 1400. Jerry Linscomb Jr. will be there to cover everything you need to know about the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. They play this weekend, and this weekend they are in action, and they play against the Sudbury Wolves. On Saturday, they play against them at 7:07. The Game Sports Show will be on location there to cover that. And Sunday against Peterborough. The game Saturday is at 7:07, and the game Sunday is at 2:07 against Peterborough outside the GFL Memorial Gardens. They're on the road next weekend in Guelph and in Owen Sound, then in North Bay on the Monday. So they got a busy schedule coming up to the Greyhounds. Another perfect start to the year so far. Barrett Hayton is starting the year in the NHL with the Arizona Coyotes. The NHL season has just gotten underway. We're getting into basically night 2 of the NHL tonight, and we're going to talk NHL in our next part of the show. But the Hounds haven't missed a beat, Preems. You know, they're looking good. A lot of people had doubts about this team this year. The Game Sports Show didn't. They started the year 4-0. Hopefully they can keep that up.
Yeah, I haven't got my weekly update yet because we play tonight. I get to share a change room with associate head coach Jordan Smith, so usually I get my weekly update when we have men's league hockey. But talking to him, he's excited. I know expectations are a little bit down this year. Maybe not the talent they've had in years past. Obviously, Hayton is up in the NHL right now. They don't know if they're going to get him back or not. And people aren't thinking that they're going to have the success they've had the last couple of years. But talking to him, I know he's excited. Thinks there's a lot of good character on that team and a lot of talent, and thinks that they can surprise a lot of people this year. Some people, maybe it's good to be playing a little bit of an underdog role. When you're always expected to win, it can be hard, and playing that underdog role. And if you have some character guys, and obviously they have a lot of skill.
And returning young guys.
Guys. And, I mean, good start to this season, and that's really important. Get out of the gate good, especially a little bit younger team. So I'm excited. I haven't got a chance to get down to GFL yet to catch a game with the football season being in full swing, so it's hard to get down there, but I'm excited to get down there and see a game and watch these guys in action.
Well, we got our media passes, Preem, so I'll have to get you in and come down to the game. You know what I'm saying? Jerry Linscomb's rolling his eyes and laughing to that right now. If you're
me and Jerry are good friends. We go way back, so he's good.
There you go. So now the Game Sports will be there to cover everything that you need to make sure you keep an eye on our Facebook page for all the updates, and make sure you check out Rock 101 for Jerry Linscomb's in-game for the Greyhounds. Preem, that was your first local program discussion, I said that completely wrong, on the Game Sports Show. How do you feel?
I feel good.
That was good. You like a complete
am I invited back?
You are absolutely invited back. We're going to take a break, though, sip on a couple beers. Be right back. There'll be a quick commercial break. Then we're going to get into some NHL discussion. And we still have NHL, soccer, baseball, and also football to all come up here in tonight's show. So make sure you don't miss any of that, because you'd be a fool if you did. You're listening to The Game. Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Dave McCaig. He's Matt Premo, and we're here for part 2 of tonight's show here from NOJHL Spirit Brewing Company. Part 3 will be Connor Henderson. Part 4, Daniel Scarpino. Part 5, myself and Matt again for In the Pocket. Big action-packed show. And before we get into part 2, I want to give a shout out to Sue Memes. I didn't do that right off the hop because we had a lot of discussion in the first part. He had a great Instagram story. It might be expired by the time you read this. As I look at my wrist, it does not have a watch on it. But you can look at his Instagram stories, his posts that he has done. He has done a great job really doing a lot of promotion with the Game Sports Show. And he is involved with the Game Sports Show and doing some special occurrences through our Sioux Online on TV portion of the show. And obviously the face of the Sioux is what he's been called in a lot of comments, which is absolutely awesome. We definitely appreciate what he has done so far for the Game Sports Show. And I laughed. I loved this post yesterday, and I was very excited that he did that. It was unexpected. So thank you very much to Sue Memes here on the Game Sports Show. We're very happy that you are doing that for us and that you are involved with the show, because I wouldn't want to be on the bad side of you chirping you, because that would be no good for anybody and for the brand at all. Now, moving forward, Preems are going to talk back into hockey. We're going to get into the National Hockey League. The season has started, my friend. Quickly is able to blink when we were at SportsCenter watching the Boston Bruins lose to St. Louis. We are back. The NHL season is back very quickly. Toronto started their season yesterday against the Ottawa Senators. A big win against Ottawa. They named John Tarvares their captain. You know, you have Evander Kane pushing official. He's out for 3 games. The Edmonton Oilers start the year 1-0. And you have the second games going on here tonight. And while we are discussing right now, the NHL is underway with the Carolina Hurricanes and Montreal, for example, 3-2. Buffalo's up 3-1 on Pittsburgh. Watch out for Buffalo this year. Tampa Bay and Florida, 2-1 Tampa, 3-3 Jets, Rangers, and so on and so forth. So lots of games going on. And by the time you hear this podcast, if you haven't heard it live, these games will already be completed. But tomorrow, there's also a good amount of games, including the Toronto Maple Leafs playing against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So the NHL's back, Preems. How are you feeling about that?
Excited. I know we didn't record last night at SportsCenter, but I made my way down there, and it was packed. There were a lot of Leaf fans there taking in the first game. It was rowdy in there. It was great to see everyone out, excited for the start of hockey. Obviously, Leafs with a big win. I think high expectations this year. I mean, they got Marner signed. They got Matthews, Tarvares.
Named your captain.
Yeah, you named your captain, and you're up front. You're loaded. I mean, that lineup is ready to explode just about any night. And I think there's high expectations, and I think deservedly so. And I think it's exciting to be a Leafs fan. I'm not personally a Leafs fan, but I think it's exciting for that fan base. And they were able to get a win on the first night, an opening night. to kind of keep those fans satisfied. So we'll see how the season goes. It's always an exciting time. You got hockey starting, football's in full swing. I mean, now NBA is just about to start, so if you're a sports fan, this is the best time of year.
It's the best time, and we are going to cover all the Canadian teams here, and including the Detroit Red Wings here on the Game Sports Show. And we're planning to do some on-location stuff with these teams as well, especially with our Ontario team. So we'll make sure we talk about every team as equally as we can here on the Game Sports Show. Now, I do want to talk about a very highly anticipated topic. The Leafs named their captain, and that in doing so, they settled down the media. Now, the question has always been, did Matthews' antics cause him to not get the C? And I think that's got to be put in the rear view. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone thinks of what Patrick Kane did when he got drunk in public after when he was with the Chicago Blackhawks when he was in his early 20s. A lot of things go on in hockey. And I'll tell you right now, I've done stupid things as a youth when I've been intoxicated in public. I've never done what Matthews just did, I don't think. But at the end of the day, that's behind them now. They have a captain selected. They have some injuries right now with Hyman and also with Travis Dermott. So they've been missing guys. Sandin makes his debut last night as well. It's at the end of the day, though, making a captain, the name of the captain this year needed to happen, Preem. It had to happen. It's been since 2016.
Absolutely. And in my mind, it was a no-brainer. I think Tarvares is the guy, more mature, still in his prime, local product. I mean, he's been a part of Olympic Canadian teams. The guy has a lot more experience. He may not be the most skilled player on the team, and that's not what a captain is. It's your best leader, right? And he's going to put out an example for the younger players, and that's what you want. And he's all business type of guy. You don't have to worry about him being a distraction for the team. Not that Matthews was a distraction. In my mind, that was kind of a really small incident, and Dubas even said it didn't really play into their decision at all. They had their mind up made before that. In my mind, when Tarvares came here last summer, I think that they knew that was the route they were going to go. I mean, great character guy. It's hard to find anything bad about this guy. He's just a good leader. Go about your business, lead by example. And this decision is made based on what their coaches see, what the GM sees, what the other players see behind closed doors. This is little about what happens on the ice. I know Marner's super skilled, Matthews really skilled, Riley's been there the longest, you know what I mean? But obviously there's a lot of respect for this guy behind closed doors, and that's what matters the most, and I think they made the right decision. In my mind, it was a no-brainer.
They gave him the captaincy, announced it to him in a very good way. You can check out the bar down, uploaded a great video. You can check on our Facebook page with using his baby as the way to announce it, not giving him the captaincy with his wife and child present. It's fantastic and very classy move by Sault Ste. Marie native Kyle Dubas, and then obviously Brendan Shanahan and Mike Babcock and company. They're up in the offices of Toronto, and that office looked absolutely beautiful. I don't know whose office that they were in up there. I don't know if that's Shanny's, I don't know if that's Dubas's, I don't know whose office that is, but I want one of those. So if you don't mind sending that down here to Sault Ontario, I wouldn't mind one of those offices. But Evander Kane's thing I want to get into quick. It's kind of old news, so we'll keep this quick and brief. Did you happen to see the video of what he pushed? What did you think of that? I don't think it should have been a suspension, to be totally honest, but it is a repeat offender of sorts because of his attitude.
I have seen the video, and I think you have to respect the official. I mean, and it's only a 3-game suspension. It's in the grand scheme of things, it's not that many games. Yeah. Repeat offender. In my mind, there's two parts to that. The part when he turns around and tries to whack the player and the refs in between, and he kind of gets him, and then he pushes him later on. In my mind, you have to have respect for the officials. Anytime you're contacting them, I know the linesman kind of gets in, but that's their job to kind of not allow the fight to happen. If they can prevent it from happening, that's their job. So the linesman's just stepping in, doing his job. Yeah. And Evander Kane, I know it gets heated, but he's got to respect that he's doing his job, that he's taught to do. And I mean, for my mind, my state of mind, you can't ever touch an official. So I mean, I don't. 3 games, is it too much? I think they have to set a precedent. I don't think that you can't allow that to happen.
No.
At all. I think it's just uncalled for. In the grand scheme, 3 games isn't that much to start the season.
Still 79 games to play after.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think hopefully he learns from his mistake, and hopefully the rest of the league does. I just think it's uncalled for. You can't be putting these refs in danger or linesmen in danger. I mean, it already is a dangerous job to begin with. Now you have players contacting them. Yeah. So, in my mind, I thought it was the right call.
And you know what? I'll say I couldn't agree more, Preens, but one thing I want to say, I think the refs got to relax at being as rough as they are with the players. I think that instigates it. It pushes them a little bit over the edge, especially if they – listen, not everyone's great at controlling their tempers. Everyone has a different personality. That's what makes this world so unique, if you want me to get so philosophical. almost butchered saying that. But at the end of the day, you have something in place that when the refs are doing, I know you got to really control, you have to. But you don't grab and throw a player to the ice unless it's necessary. Like if he's hitting you and just being an absolute animal. But I don't think he had to tackle Kane at that point. Yeah. I feel like he could have just got in the way and just said, all right. And then if you would have kept going, then you get a bit more physical. It's like you rise with the occasion, keep the maturity. You have the stripes on for a reason. You're a referee out there. And I feel like sometimes refs get a little bit too excited themselves, and then they're always the one to walk away from it without getting a little discussion. I'm not saying this guy did. Maybe he's like, all right, you shouldn't be tackling him to the ice. But that's one thing I didn't like what he did.
Yeah, I think it's changed a bit the way they've taught the refs or the linesmen to break up altercations. Before they would just let them go until they fell to the ice. Now you see them, they're really worried about. It's part of it's for the player safety as well.
Yeah.
You see when guys are getting tired, the two linesmen will jump in and they'll grab when they're having a fight because they don't want one guy to catch a blow that puts them out for months.
Yeah.
Right? Or fall back and hit their head. So the linesmen are now taught when they see a break in action where they can kind of put that altercation to bed and kind of just squash it. They're told to do so. So I think they're being taught to do that. And then the NHL is doing that in terms of player safety. And they're just looking out for the referee safety. So I get it from a business standpoint. All right, and why they tell them to. I mean, now like you see them, they'll jump in. Both lines will jump in during a fight and grab a guy each, as opposed to before they just let them fight it out till they're on the ground. Right, one guy. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I think from a business standpoint, you don't want these players. Now there's so many. I mean, gone are the days where there's like your enforcers. Really, there's a couple left, but they. So if guys do get an altercation, you don't want to see these highly skilled guys going down and missing months at a time.
No, exactly not. Now, you have the National Hockey League had an injury today, and Adam Larson, who'll be missing 6 to 8 weeks. The Edmonton Oilers just can't catch a break, losing the guy that they traded Taylor Hall for from the New Jersey Devils, and one of their alternate captains will be missing 6 to 8 weeks. The Oilers did start the year 1-0, but that is a big loss on their back end for the Edmonton Oilers. Now, we're just going to have a brief discussion on the opening night of the National Hockey League. And as I mentioned, there's night 2 going on. It's a big hockey day on Saturday. Toronto plays against Montreal. That Saturday will be a great, interesting rivalry this year. See if Montreal can bounce back from a very impressive year as of last year. And then obviously you got a lot of teams going. You got Vancouver, Calgary will be the doubleheader in that game. You have Edmonton playing the Kings on Saturday. You also have the Senators playing the Rangers in that game, and you obviously got the Wings playing the Predators, and tomorrow night the Jets play the Devils, so the Leafs play the Columbus Blue Jackets. And at the end of the day, you have a team Canadian teams going on that have a lot of expectations, but there's really only one right now that has the expectations of potentially going all the way. But we'll see how the rest of the season pops out. Now, quick little update before we go to our break, because we just, as I mentioned, quick little brief discussion of the National Hockey League because of all of our content here tonight on the Game Sports Show. All year we'll have a lot of hockey discussion, let me tell you, especially here from Northern Superior Brewing Company and coverage locally and professionally. Buffalo Sabres right now are in action up 3-1 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I must give a shout out to 2 players here. Connor Sherry, because the guy has 2 goals currently going into action right now, going into near the end of the second period, or just concluding the second period at the time of this discussion here on the broadcast. Colin Miller gets his first point as a Buffalo Sabres. Sioux native and listener of the show, friend of the show, gets his assist on Connor Sherry's second goal of the game. Now, that is Connor Sherry getting the goal with Colin Miller involved in the assist. Preems. That's great to see.
Yeah, nice to see a power play goal. Colin's getting some time on the power play there.
Yeah.
Interesting to see the role. It's a young team. They got some solid young players, and hopefully they're on the rise, and Colin can be a big part of that. It's exciting to see.
I think so as well. Colin Miller that Buffalo team is going to be very interesting this year. That whole Atlantic division with the improvement of Buffalo, improvement of Florida. You have Boston, you have Toronto, you have Tampa in there. You have Detroit, who's rebuilding. You have the Ottawa Senators that are a pesky team as well. You got a loaded Atlantic division, though, between those teams. And I think you're going to see the top 3 being Toronto, Tampa, Boston, not in that order to say, and I'm not going to predict any of that. But you could see, also you have Montreal in that division, I forgot to mention a few moments ago as well. You can see Montreal, Florida, and Buffalo battling for that wild card. I can really see the Atlantic invading the playoffs this year. Buffalo's going to be in a very interesting year. It's just a matter of how their goaltending performances are and if they can stay healthy. Now, Preems, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to let you have a little bit of a timeout for a couple parts. We have Connor Henderson coming on for a lengthy discussion with baseball. We have to get all caught up with all the world of baseball that we missed, so it's going to be a little bit of a lengthy discussion, about 20 minutes or so. And then we are going to have Daniel Scarpino on for about 15 minutes. So Preems will see you in about 35, 40 minutes. When we come back, we're going to have some in-the-pocket discussion here on the Game Sports Show, local and professional football. Listen to the game on thegamesportshow.com and our various social media and YouTube and also partnership channels. Make sure you don't go anywhere. Lots more coming here on the Twin Sault's only local regional national sports show. Welcome back to the Game Sports Show, the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. It's your host, David McCaig, and we are continuing tonight's edition inside the tap room here at Northern Superior Brewing Company. You're listening to the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.com and various social media and Podbean and outlets throughout the internet, Facebook, Instagram, ESPN stream. You may have been directed here through Northern's Facebook page. A lot of options you've been able to listen to us so far this evening, and even through the after recording. Either way, we're very happy you're able to join us here on the game. It's Dave McCaig, as I mentioned, and the beautiful voice that you're about to hear for this next part of the show is a friend of mine, a teammate of mine in baseball. He is the Game Sports Show's baseball analyst. He is obviously heavily involved with the Black Sox program here in Sault Ste. Marie, and he's coming from not Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. He's not with me in the tap room right now. He is doing school in Southern Ontario right now like a smart boy would. The one and only Connor Henderson. Connor, welcome aboard tonight, my friend, and great talking to you.
You flatter me, Dave. It's good to be back on the show.
Yeah, definitely. We had a great segment on TV a few weeks back that you can check out on the On TV YouTube channel, and you can also check it on thegamesportshow.com and Sioux Online and ESPN 1400 being main PowerPoints of the Game Sports Show on our streaming, including our website. So you can check out all those areas for mine and Connor's segment where we talked about local baseball and professional baseball, and that's what we're going to do here today, except without the local. We do not be talking about anything local today. We're going to be jumping into purely professional baseball today because the MLB playoffs are going on, Connor. We got some MLB playoffs. The wildcard games were complete. You had the Nationals defeating the Milwaukee Brewers. I wonder how great that feels on Bryce Harper's gut, and besides his wallet, which we know isn't hurting too much. And the Tampa Bay Rays defeated the Oakland Athletics 5-1 yesterday. And while you and I are talking right now, the Braves and Cardinals are in action. The Nationals play the Dodgers tonight. Tomorrow, the Astros and Rays get underway in their series, and then obviously the Cardinals and Braves are also in action tomorrow. So the baseball season for MLB is in full swing. So no pun intended. So also the Twins and Yankees are also in action tomorrow. I should mention at 7 o'clock. So lots of games. Connor, I wanted you to give your insight though on the first two wild card games that just went on that saw the Nationals win and the Rays win.
All right, so let's begin with talking about the Washington Nationals game, because I feel like that one really stuck out in a nail-biting fashion. This brought me right back to Little League, Dave. You saw Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg coming into the same game to pitch. This is new age baseball. Just it doesn't matter if you're a starter or a reliever. We're putting our best guys on the mound and trying to give our team the best chance to win today so that we can try to get to tomorrow.
Definitely, and you have right now Max Scherzer and Strasburg are great, obviously 1-2 punch. There's a lot of good 1-2, 1-2-3-4 punches if you even want to go look at the Astros rotation in the major leagues. But obviously Strasburg, putting him in there I believe they put him in the sixth inning was where he went into the game, and he pitched 3 innings. He had 4 strikeouts. Scherzer pitched 5, had 6 strikeouts. How do you think is this truly the modern way the game is, and is this a good thing that teams should incorporate in their playoff runs? Like, you have your starters, but you know what? Even if a starter's on 2 or 3 days rest, why not put him in there for a couple innings if he's a top tier pitcher just to close out the game if you feel like your bullpen may not bring that same effect?
Yeah, we've started seeing this more and more often. It started around 2014, 2015. With the rise of super relievers, we've seen Andrew Miller have amazing success in the playoffs, not necessarily as a closer, but just as a spot. We need you right now. The other team's top of the order is coming up. Put our best guy out there. And in this case, Max Scherzer got off to a pretty rough start. He gave up 3 walks, which is not like him at all. He's a power pitcher who loves to attack the zone. And the Brewers did everything in their power to rattle him early. Steven Strasburg luckily caved in and settled things down. 4 strikeouts, 0 walks, Steve. You can't really ask for more than that.
No, you can't. And you have a Brewers team that is a really good ball team as well. And Josh Hader is the unfortunate guy who gave up 2 runs in his inning of work. So I would say, though, that the Nationals were maybe not the favorites going into this game. Is that fair to say? Or do you think the Nationals were favorites going into this game just because of having home field advantage?
You know what? There is a case to be made for the Brewers. Personally, I'm a bias to the Washington Nationals because I just love the power that they have in their pitching staff. But Josh Hader, they've been relying on him all season for the Brewers, and he couldn't get the job done. Sadly, there's nothing more to say there. Essentially, in a wild card situation, sometimes it comes down to luck, and that might have been the difference in this very game.
Definitely. Now you have the Nationals who will be moving on against the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's their present for defeating the Brewers in the wild card. But I always like the wild card teams in the playoffs. I feel like they have the toughest run. I think in baseball, it's a lot different than the exhaustion in hockey that it has, or even basketball, or heck, even football. So I think it's just a one leg up for the Nationals going against the Dodgers. But we'll get to that in just a few moments. Can go with the other wild card game now. The Rays and Athletics. This game was a bit more higher end scoring for the Rays over the Athletics. And honestly, Connor, I didn't have Tampa Bay winning this baseball game. Okay, I had Oakland winning just because, I have a little bit of a soft spot for Oakland, but just because that lineup with Semien this year, Olsen, with Chris Davis, and you know what, they were on home field advantage, and Oakland couldn't capitalize, and Tampa Bay walked away with a 5-1 win.
Yeah, I in total agreement, Dave. I also had the A's winning this game. When you start a guy like Sean Manaea on the mound, he's got such deception out of his delivery as a left-hander and that power in the lineup. They've got, over 3 guys hitting over 30 home runs in their batting order. And surely enough, the Tampa Bay Rays were the ones who capitalized with the power. 4 home runs. This is modern baseball. This is what we're looking at. Low-scoring home runs and pitching is what leads you to championships nowadays.
It's not the fact that you can buy wins. And you know what? Maybe I'm quoting something from Moneyball there. That's a great movie if you haven't seen it. But coincidentally, Oakland is the team that's represented in that movie. But in today's baseball, you don't have these teams like Mount Crushmore, quote unquote, was with the Toronto Blue Jays when they had the Donaldson, Bautista, Encarnacion era. And obviously the Bronx Bombers back in the day. And you don't need to have this power. It's basically like you got to have some good contact hitters. You just got to hit those singles, hit those doubles. And you know what? You don't need to have 4 or 5 guys that hit 30 home runs that are going to clinch you the World Series. It is just guys that are buying in and know their roles as players, and they play that small ball to win baseball games.
Oh, absolutely. And I love Moneyball. It was fantastic. I read the book. But on top of that, with the increase in both velocity and strikeouts we've seen in the modern MLB, some people are more incentivized to swing for the home run because it's so hard to string together those singles. So it is really nice to see 2 small market teams with small budgets putting it out there, just laying it out on the line. And yesterday or the day before, the Rays won it, but it'll be really interesting to see how they move forward throughout this postseason.
You have Tampa Bay and Oakland who don't even come close to the Boston Red Sox budget or payroll. And obviously we know where Boston is right now. They're not playing playoff baseball right now. They're searching for a new man. They're searching for everything on that team. Okay, so at the end of the day, you have a team Tampa Bay, who is actually going to be playing half their games in Montreal this upcoming season. So that would be very interesting to see. But it's good to see, like you mentioned, these lower market teams string these runs and wins and just get a chance in the playoffs. So overall, you have Oakland, very sad that you're out. Brewers, sad that you're out. But the Rays and Nationals move on. Now, Connor's going to get to the big ticket items now. Okay, you got the whole core type of playoff teams going on. You got the Astros, who I'm going to spoil my pick right now, was my favorite to win the World Series since day 1 of the season. I am still backing behind that. This team that the Astros have is absolutely ridiculous just throughout the entirety of the lineup, including that pitching staff. But overall, dissecting kind of the playoff picture right now, what do you have your eyes on in this next upcoming divisional series and what do you think the rest of the playoffs is going to shape out like?
Well, in terms of what I'd see the playoffs shaping out as, there's two massive favorites at the moment. It's the Los Angeles Dodgers, led by Dave Roberts, who have seen their hopes and dreams crash and burn back-to-back seasons now. And it would be the Houston Astros. 2 years ago, they brought home the title, and there's an easy case to be made that this team's even better. Dave, that pitching rotation that you mentioned gives me nightmares. It's terrifying. Between Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, Zach Greinke, that three-headed monster might not just be the best big three pitching staff that we've seen in the 2010s. It might be the best we've seen heading into the playoffs since the Tom Glavine, Schultz, and Maddox combination of the 1998 Braves. I don't know if we've seen a more powerful three-headed monster. Let's see if they can get it done, though.
See, pitching is so key that I'm finding out more of in the baseball. If you have a pitcher who's going to be lights out night in and night out, you have a chance to win the game. As this is probably the most obvious statement I'll ever say on the show. But if you have a pitcher that's lights out night in, night out, as I mentioned, you're going to win games. And those three guys that they have are obviously some big names that are going to get those wins. Usually you have a saying when the Jays had Roy Halladay that every time he was on the mound, it was almost a guaranteed win, right? That is just the kind of stature that he had. And obviously the players that you mentioned with Cole Verlander and obviously with Greinke, they have guys that can, out of a 4-game series you have to win. Those are 3 wins potentially right there. And the Rays are in tough, but what do you think the Rays are going to have to do to try to be successful against the Astros? Do they even have a chance, Connor, at all?
Personally... Yeah, you always have a fighting chance in baseball. This isn't basketball, where the favorites disproportionately win games. Skill doesn't always win out. They have to attack these pitchers early. If you fall deep in counts, all 3 of them have such high spin rates on their fastballs and breaking balls that you don't want to get into deep at-bats and risk the strikeout. Personally, swing for the fences right away, do what you did against Oakland, try to go for those home runs and put the other guy away fast.
I agree. Now, you got the Cardinals and Braves, who I mentioned are in action right now, the Nationals and Dodgers later tonight. Then you have the Twins and Yankees. If you can quickly go through those series as well for our listeners and viewers, just to give your feedback about those series and what you're looking for in them.
All right, so starting with the Cardinals and the Braves, you love to see a matchup like this. Very quiet lineup from the Cardinals. We've seen Yadier Molina and Paul Goldschmidt leading that team quietly for the last half a decade. But then on the flip side, the Braves are a prototypical how you should rebuild the team type of team, very akin to what the Cubs did a few years ago, where they built around a strong first baseman and basically tore it down and built it back up through the middle infield with Dansby Swanson and Ozzie Albies. They've got an excellent pitching staff. Right now, Dallas Keuchel is dealing for them, but Mike Storak has come onto the fold, and as a 22-year-old has just been lights out. I have the Braves winning that series, and then flipping over to the Twins and Yankees. Man, what a powerful, fun combination we have here. Of course, with the Yankees, between Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, and then from the bullpen with Zach Britton and Aroldis Chapman, there's no better word to describe them than power. The Minnesota Twins played in a very weak division this year. They've got an uphill battle against the Yankees.
They definitely do. Now you have the Nationals and Dodgers, and we kind of did talk about Dave Roberts and the presidents of the Dodgers don't want to be heartbroken this year, but the Nationals are a very interesting team in this series, Connor. I gotta be honest. If there is going to be an upset, this is the series. I know Dodgers fans do not want to hear that right now, and I might be public enemy number 1 to Dodgers fans by saying that. But at the end of the day, okay, the Nationals, and you may agree or disagree with me, but I think the Nationals have a high chance in this series. I think that they could actually defeat the Dodgers, but this series I can see going the limit. What say you?
It's going to come down to how well they can bat against left-handed pitching. Some lineups have struggled mightily against this, and the Dodgers have 3 star-tier left-handed pitchers between Kershaw, Hyun-Jin Ryu, and Rich Hill, 38-year-old or 37-year-old man who spins a curveball like the best of them. He's going to have short stints, but those 3 lefties are dangerous.
Yeah, they're very dangerous. And obviously, the Nationals having a good team-building win, I'd like to say, against Milwaukee. That's one of those wins, at home, and the boys are rallying together. You just carry that momentum. Here's my comparison, Connor, to this series, and you may think I'm crazy, but that's fine because maybe I am a little crazy. I remember Encarnacion hitting a home run for the Toronto Blue Jays off the Baltimore Orioles, Ubaldo Jimenez. I call that the bat drop home run. I know we had the bat flip, obviously, against Texas. I call that the bat drop because of him putting his arms up and letting the bat drop, and just Pierce walking that parrot around the field for the Toronto Blue Jays to clinch. They went to play Texas the next series, and they won that series after winning the wild card, and they hit bombs out of Arlington, and they were hitting bombs out of the Rogers Center. Like, there was just bombs getting thrown everywhere, as we'd like to say. And I strongly think the Nationals can be what the Toronto Blue Jays were that year and defeat the Dodgers in this series.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of low-key pop is what I like to call it. Between guys like Juan Soto, Ryan Zimmerman as a pinch hitter or designated hitter, I guess. They don't have a DH in the National League, of course, but they have very quiet, productive players, and you really like to see it. Hopefully they can be that powerful, popping team. Dave Roberts is a hell of a manager, but he can't sleep on this Washington Nationals roster.
No, you can't. No, so I'm going to guess, or correct me if I'm wrong, you have the Braves winning, the Dodgers winning, the Yankees winning, and the Astros. Are those your picks?
Yeah, it's pretty boring. It's about as vanilla of a take as I could possibly have, but those are my four.
Those are the expert. I'm going to go on the realm of saying the Braves, the Nationals, Stros, and Braves. I'm just going to have one different pick than you and have the Nationals. And now what we'll do with you, Connor, every series is we'll try to get you in as series are going on. But when the next series comes up, we'll have more predictions and analysis leading up to the World Series. So the overall right now, before we transition to some Blue Jays and Tigers news, before we let you go, what is your score an expectation of this playoff to this point after the two wildcard games? And do you expect this to be a very exciting playoffs? Or like you just said for your picks, is this playoffs going to be very vanilla and have all these favorites come up and meet in the finals?
Well, the good thing about having vanilla favorites in the first few rounds is that all of those powerhouses get to play each other later on if it does come to fruition. And if it doesn't, you have an underdog story. So it's a win-win. I'd see a couple powerhouse teams come into the finals here. Essentially, my favorites are the Houston Astros and the Atlanta Braves, but we'll see how it plays out.
It's going to be interesting. Now, obviously, Blue Jays fans maybe watching the Atlanta Braves a little bit extra because of somebody named Josh Donaldson, the bringer of rain. It would be very awesome to see him obviously win a World Series, but also looking at the other side, there's somebody named Roberto Osuna, and then there's somebody named Aaron Sanchez who is on the DL, obviously, for the Houston Astros. So there's some ex-Blue Jays, making some runs here in the playoffs. So I'm sure a lot of Blue Jays fans have their eyes on that. So now transitioning from the playoffs that are currently going on, we're going to go to those Blue Jays. I want to talk to you about two things, Connor. One thing that I brought up on the Tuesday show on our on-TV segment was some bozo. Okay, I don't want to get the name. I'm not going to say the name. But he made the mention that Toronto Blue Jays should trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to the Boston Red Sox for Mookie Betts. I almost threw my phone, Connor. Okay, I've been a Toronto fan. I've taken off my host hat for a minute and put my fan hat on. I've been a Toronto fan of every sport my entire life, okay? I saw the Blue Jays make the playoff twice in the last 28 years. I've seen the Maple Leafs make it not too much more than that in the last 28 years. And the only championships I've seen to Toronto have been the Raptors this past year. Praise the Lord. And also I've seen the Argonauts win, but we're not counting the CFL much, okay? So I'm going to say right now, that the Toronto Blue Jays, if that trade happened, I just can't even think of what would happen. And second thing is, I want you to grade their season. I want you to assess how the team, you believe how they did, and really did the rookies, they're ranked first in almost every category. How much promise does this team have?
They've got tons of promise. The person who suggested that trade does not, though. That makes no sense for either roster. I'd love Mookie Betts, but the timelines just make no sense. Anyway, I would say that I would give the Jays a B- grade, and this might be the most generous marking system I've ever given to a roster, simply for the fact that the growth has been more accelerated than we expected going into the year. Like you mentioned, the guys are way ahead of the timeline. If you look at it from the micro perspective of what we thought going into the season. Now, if you take a step backward and look at the last 5 years, the grade goes way down. But for this year, I'd say a B-. They still need pitching. Nate Pearson's not enough. Alec Manoah's not enough. They need more.
They definitely, for sure, need more. And that's been one area, an Achilles heel for the Blue Jays. You know, they never really had a strong bullpen. They had a good pitching presence, obviously, when they had David Price back when they acquired him. But ever since then, I'm going to say that the trade that they made for Stroman, I really like that trade with the Mets that they made. And obviously, with Sanchez going to Houston, he is a Band-Aid, as a lot of fans would say, and I'm sorry to be honest, but that is purely what I think of Aaron Sanchez, and that pitching rotation needs improvement. Now, do they do that via trade, free agency, or do you just keep letting the young kids develop? Because truly, what's the rush in Toronto to even make the playoffs at this point?
The rush would be that jobs are at risk from upper management if they don't. But in terms of the production of the team and what they should be looking like going forward, yeah, there is no rush. That trade for Stroman that everybody freaked out about wasn't that bad. Anthony Kay is one hell of a left-handed pitcher in the minor league system. I'm really interested to see how he develops. And Aaron Sanchez was inflated in our own perspectives by how much the Canadian media propped him up. He's a talented pitcher, but he's not the be-all, end-all, and it made sense to part ways.
It definitely did make sense, 100%. And now Justin Smoke might have played his last game as a Blue Jay as well. So definitely, if that was his last game, I gave him a thumbs up on Tuesday's show for that. And I want to send a quick reminder to listeners. This is Dave McCaig and our baseball analyst Connor Henderson here on the Game Sports Show inside Northern Superior's Tap Room. That has the St. Louis Cardinals just tied up the game against the Atlanta Braves in the top of the fifth currently while we are recording here at Northern Superior. So in my next topic and our last topic that we're going to get to, Connor, because we are going into a little bit of overtime, but we had a lot to catch up on, a lot to dissect in baseball. The Detroit Tigers. You're a Detroit Tiger fan. We get a lot of coverage with Detroit between Butch Davis and Scott Nason on the show, but it's always good to get a Canadian perspective in terms of the Tigers. And I know you are a Tigers fan. I know it wasn't the greatest of all years for the Tigers. Obviously, they are trying to ascend in a positive direction. I want you to give your grade on the Tigers season, which I can probably guess what it's going to be, and what your hopefulness about the Tigers are going into next season in the future.
Well, Dave, I don't like to say that there are bad students, but this student has gotten an F. Tanking culture is not a thing in baseball. There's no Austin Matthews waiting to save you. Can you name any of the last top first overall picks? I can name them because I'm a geek, but realistically, they're not going to save your franchise. There was like one lone bright spot on the roster this year, and that was former Rule 5 pick Victor Reyes, who came back up from the minor leagues and batted .280. Everything else, from Zimmerman's salary to Boyd and Turnbull hitting walls midway through the season, it's just complete and utter catastrophe from the time Terrence Ross and Matt Moore got injured early on to the time it finished. I hope Gardenhire purchased no-fault insurance, because there's nothing he could have done with this abysmal roster.
So what do you think the Tigers have to do? I know they got an F and you basically touched on a lot of things. Do they need to improve everything? Like, do they need to be busy this offseason, or do you trade to get prospects? What do you recommend the Tigers should do?
Well, they need basically the same approach they took last offseason, take flyers on cheap free agents. Just pray to God that this time they don't get hurt right away. That's the problem here, is we just didn't get innings. When Buck Farmer, your journeyman relief pitcher, is the second most winning pitcher on your roster, something's wrong. So we need to acquire cheap talent, flip it at the deadline, and then move from there.
Definitely. I think I'm a firm believer. I know baseball, and this will be our last question, Connor. Baseball is a lot different than other sports, as you attest to at the top of our segment, that I actually going to go the route of prospects. Is I'm a fan of building prospects and building up. I'm not saying that as a Blue Jays fan because of what they have in their pipeline right now and what they've used this year, but I'm a fan of watching youth grow and being powerful that way. Obviously, the Yankees and Red Sox and the Dodgers, the Dodgers do some drafting and signing as well, but they have a money roll that just is endless, right? So they're able to buy players. They're attractive to free agents because of their name, and a lot of people don't want to come to Canada or come to the colder areas of maybe even Detroit as much. So honestly, I am thinking that in terms of Cleveland and the teams like Tampa Bay are lower market teams, they have to go this route. But I'm also a fan of bigger teams. If I was a Yankees team or even am a Toronto team, which does have a big payroll, a lot of people may not know that, I'm a fan of seeing the prospects build and trading for prospects and watch them grow and having a young team in baseball, because you have a long control of their contract long term, and also that they build a team together. But does that truly work in baseball, is waiting for prospects to develop, or does the, let's say, quote unquote, Yankee way work best?
Prospects are currency, and the great thing about it is it's kind of like a Christmas present. You have a feeling of what you're going to get, but the mystery is what makes it exciting. Personally, baseball is moving to a younger and younger man's game. It was always seen as the old person's sport. And both with the players and the viewers, players didn't break into the league till they were 25. They didn't have success till they were 30. Now it's getting younger and younger, and prospects are the way of the future. And our scouting is getting better and better every day.
Definitely. Now, it's been Dave McCaig. This has been our baseball analyst, Connor Henderson, going into a little bit of overtime for our baseball segment. But we are going to let Connor go here, and I want to say thank you to you, Connor, and we'll have you on again in the very near future to talk more baseball playoffs. And is it fair enough to tell fans to buckle up, or what?
Of course, Dave, and I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely. Thanks again to Connor. We're going to take a break here on the Game Sports Show. We'll be back here inside Northern Superior right after these messages. Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. It's your host, David McCaig. I'm inside Northern Superior's tap room, enjoying this deliciousness that I'd like to call the pumpkin ale. Oh my goodness gracious! Let me tell you right now how good this is. Do you ever have McDonald's at 2:30 in the morning after a night out, or do you ever just sip a nice cold beer on a cold day? Even though I'm drinking a beer right now on a cooler fall day, this deliciousness that I'd like to call from Northern Superior Brewing Company is absolutely fantastic. Okay, Scarps, what do you think of this?
It's different class, to be honest. I mean, combining pumpkin with beer, who would have thought? But it's, 10 out of 10, no question.
Blake Winter did this beer. He's the brewmaster here at Northern Superior Brewing Company. He's dedicated a lot of beers that he's done. This is, Blake, I might be honest, I'm usually a Heffenweizen fan. You outdid yourself here, my friend.
Shout out to Blake.
Yeah, definitely fantastic. And this beautiful voice that you're hearing on the other side, because I didn't introduce him off the hop because I just didn't want to just do that. I want to talk about the beer first. Daniel Scarpino, he is our analyst for soccer here on the Game Sports Show. He is Algoma University men's soccer coach. He's involved with the Algoma University program in soccer and all the fun things. He played soccer, and it's an honor that he's a part of the Game Sports Show for the soccer side of things, an area where fans wanted a lot of improvement because the only individual that was really an expert in soccer was Scott Nason on this panel, to be totally honest, but now we've added Daniel, so it's a great add to the show. So, Dan, thanks for coming here tonight, my friend.
Happy to be here, brother. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Now that we're having a beer and now that we're talking sports, there's literally nothing better.
You can't ask for much more.
No, you can't. You literally can't. So we got some soccer news to jump into, though. Okay, but first, before we jump into that, I want you to promote the Algoma University Facebook page. Where can people find Algoma University Facebook, the soccer program, everything? Where can they locate everything that they need to know about Algoma University soccer and even the Algoma University sports programs?
So if we just go on to Facebook and we type in the search bar Algoma University Thunderbirds soccer, we do have a Facebook page pertaining everything to OUA as well as our junior varsity program. On Instagram, Algoma University Thunderbirds, men's and women's soccer team, so you can follow us there. And on Twitter, Algoma University Soccer, where you can follow us, and we give live up-to-the-minute game time stats. And then everything else pertaining to Algoma University can be found on the Varsity Athletics website, which can be linked right from algomau.com.
Awesome. Look at that. It's easy access. It's like with the Game Sports Show's Facebook page. Everything's on there. Everything's a click away. It's modern society. People get those phones out, get those computers out, follow, like, share, follow along, period, especially with local content here on the Game Sports Show. We'll cover everything local and professional. So I want to jump into, you did an awesome write-up. You have your weekend reports that you send out to myself, and then we forward them to Soo Online, which is a proud sponsor here on the Game Sports Show. And then we also discussed it on our ESPN show about how the weekend goes for Algoma University. So briefly, because you already did have the reports, and I don't want to give too much news on this because I want people to go look and read your report if they haven't read your report to get the analysis from last weekend. But just a little tidbit about how last weekend went for the Algoma University soccer program.
Well, on the whole, from the women's perspective, 2 quality performances. They were missing some key players in the squad for the weekend, but dropped both games. First game was 1-0, second game was 2-0. But again, generated enough chances to win the game, did really, really well. So at this point, from the women's perspective, it is about putting in the right performances because the results will come. So the women did quite well. Men tied 1-1 on Saturday, pulled out a really good result. Again, dominated the game, which they only had done one other time this season. So that was really, really good. Injuries that went into Sunday, we went from a squad from 17 players down to 13, ended up losing the game, but all in all, pretty much we would chalk it up to a very good weekend, considering the performances.
See, now you said right off the hop there, just get it in the right direction and not necessarily you want results, but that current point, you want to see this program keep ascending in the right direction, right? That is the whole point of Algoma University. When you're playing against Brock, you're playing against these schools that have a large quality of students to pick from. Algoma University is getting there, and we've had some great athletes in the soccer program. The basketball program is really growing. It's always been a big part of Algoma, so it's great to see. But this week, what is on course for Algoma University soccer?
So this week and this weekend particularly, we are heading to Hamilton. We are leaving tomorrow. We're going to take on McMaster. So that'll be a doubleheader for both the men and the women. This week in training was a little bit different in the sense that the players needed a lot of recovery. So as coaches, we did have to adjust and adapt our training plans for the week. It did become a lot more tactical. We were a little bit concerned, especially after the Sunday games, more so for the men, but also for the women, that we were putting the players almost in overload. And we didn't want to do that, particularly because we only have 5 games left in the season. And we do want to make somewhat of a final push here. So we had an easier week in training. It was very much more a tactical and set-piece focus. We go into the weekend to take on McMaster, 1 o'clock for the men, or for the women rather, on Saturday, 3 for the men on Saturday, and then 12 for the women on Sunday, and 2 o'clock for the men on Sunday.
So what was the preparation going into this weekend's matchup? So it was one thing from both programs that you want to see change going into this game. I'm sure, as the program grows, the practices are, intense. They want to keep, you're not out there just for a workout and just play soccer. You want to continue to grow in the game and be a part and have a good culture there. So what was the goal this week going into this weekend?
Well, because we implemented such a tactical focus into the week's preparations, and because we really did back off the intensity because the players needed that rest and that recovery, we really focused on our defensive shape. We focused on, in terms of what we're going to play from a formation perspective and how we're going to play in it, how low we are going to sit, how tight we're going to keep our lines, and then basically from there we moved into set pieces and how we're going to execute from free kicks and corner kicks, because a lot of times in games that's where most of our chances come from. We did have some chances in the past few weekends in terms of set pieces, but we didn't quite execute the way that we wanted to. So we did change a couple things in terms of how we set up. So we did focus on that as well. So it was really more of a finite focus this week as opposed to raising the intensity, because the players needed a little bit more detailed instruction as opposed to, let's say fitness or working on concepts or ideologies. We really focused on our tactics, and we focused on set pieces a lot.
So you said 5 games left to go. What is the goal for the 5 games? I always refer to a movie, Mr. 3000, with Bernie Mac. They said 4th place. They want to get a certain position in the last little bit of the season. Is there a certain goal that you have for the soccer program? Is there something you want to do in these 5 games as a team achieve, or even as yourself as a coach?
Well, from the team's perspective, the biggest thing that we said from the beginning of the season, right from preseason when we had our initial meetings and our talks with the players, was every game that we go out this season, we want to put in quality performances, and whether the results come or not, we understand that in time the results will come. We have 5 games left. We're going up against 3 formidable opponents, particularly next weekend in York. who is nationally ranked right now as the number 2 team in Canada.
Wow.
So we want to put in the right performances, but in these final 5 games for both the men and the women, the playoffs aren't technically out of the question. So we could technically make a push, we could get to the playoffs, but our biggest thing right now, as we've talked about in many of our team talks, is to put in the right performances, to have the right mentality going into these games. And we do feel that if both the men and the women can have the right mentality and put in the right performances, that we can do something. So the main focus for us is just doing things the right way, playing to our identity, and playing to the philosophy that we've established at Algoma University.
Algoma University's Daniel Scarpino, the Game Sports Show soccer analyst here inside the tap room in Northern Superior, where it's lively in here tonight in the tap room. A lot of guys in suits, though, I must say, and females dressed up really nicely. I feel really underdressed in the presence. Yes, I don't wear suits on location. That is number one rule that we don't do here on the show, is follow a full script and wear suits. That's one thing I wanted to pull out, because we do that from 9 to 5 already, Monday to Friday as it is. So we talked about Algoma University soccer, and make sure you follow all the social media and be involved with that program. I want to pass the floor over to you here, because you wrote an amazing article about Premier League soccer. And I'm not even going to say what else in soccer, because I follow soccer to as much as I can, but I'm not at the level that you're, not even close. So I want to give you the floor to not really talk about that article. So I want people to go refer to our Facebook page at the Game Sports Show and on Sue Online to read that awesome article. But I want to give you the floor about the Premier League or any professional soccer that you want to dissect or rant about here for the next couple minutes.
Well, first off, I want to give out a shout-out to Claudio Marchisio. He just announced his retirement today. Italian international, Juventus legend, 33 years of age, put in just wonderful years. And for anybody who's watched international football or club football in Italia Serie A, he's just wowed us for years. And to see him go from the game, it's when we compare it to that of hockey or basketball or baseball, it's tough to see legends go, and he's like I said, he's wowed us for years. So, I mean, to see him go today is very tough, but he's wowed us with goals, he's wowed us with performances, he's won Juventus so many trophies. So I want to give that shout out very quickly first. In terms of the Premier League, I think what we're seeing right now in terms of the quality that's presented, particularly amongst the top 6 teams, so the Man Cities, the Liverpools, the Chelseas, the Manchester Uniteds, the Tottenhams, the Arsenals, we might be in a period right now from that perspective where we've never seen that level of play or that kind of quality. The money that's invested right now in the Premier League and into these top 6 teams is astounding, and we're seeing it at the European level in the Europa League and in the Champions League, where these teams and the coaches that they've brought in are nothing short of spectacular, and the brand of football and the style of football that these teams are playing are really changing the game. And when we look at it again from a hockey perspective, we understand from the Canadian point of view, well, when the two-line pass was taken out, the game changed. When they needed defensemen to be able to attack and to be able to move the puck well and to be able to stick handle and to be able to move up ice and these sorts of things and score on the power play, the game changed. We're seeing so much from a soccer point of view changing in how the game is played and how coaches are adjusting their tactics and their philosophies to everybody now needs to be comfortable on the ball, including your goalkeeper. Teams are now playing in high presses. They're playing with front threes. Teams are looking to play between the lines. They're looking to play possession. It's not always long ball now and just playing it off the front man and looking for the second phase ball. So the game is changing tremendously, and I think when you take a look at the Premier League and the way that the top 6 clubs have adapted and have adjusted to the way that soccer is now kind of moving, you're seeing even clubs that are below them adjusting and adapting to that style of play. And when they go to these big clubs and play them in away games, they're not deviating from that philosophy. They're still trying to play out from the back. They're still trying to play between the lines. They're still trying to play what we would call now, quote-unquote, good football. So it's really fantastic to see. Across Europe, we're seeing magnificent stuff, really. Everybody is loving the Champions League right now. I would even say that everybody's loving the Europa League right now. And domestically, I think just on the whole, soccer it's tough to say really, but I would say it may not be in a better moment than it could be. It's as good as it can be right now. And just with the hype that that's been created between the Premier League, Serie A, in the Bundesliga, in Liga, like everywhere, it's fantastic, and even the MLS, somewhere that's close to home. So. Yeah. It's really good to see the direction that soccer is going in, and where we currently are in this moment. I think that we're actually very fortunate to be able to be watching these quality world-class players in these really good leagues, and it's we're very fortunate for sure.
So the last question I'll give you is parities throughout the league. Are we seeing more parity? Are we seeing more balances in the league and equal popularity in the league? I know comparison MLS in Europe is not at that level. Let's be straight out honest here. Over in Europe, the soccer is absolutely number one, just like hockey is here and baseball or football is in the States. But is there becoming more parity? Like the MLS, everyone thought maybe this league wouldn't be as good as it's become, but arguably it's become a great league. And just throughout all the leagues, do you see parity?
Definitely do. And one of the things, if folks have read the article, one of the quotes that's kind of out there right now from managers that they're really focusing on and they're really going with their teams, these top clubs anyways, is it's football, so anything can happen. So in terms of parity, there is parity, and you can see some of these, if you will, lesser quality teams beating some of the top quality teams. We saw it 2 weeks ago with Norwich City beating Manchester City 3-2. We just saw Tottenham Hotspur get absolutely thwarted in the Champions League 7-2. So there definitely is more parity. I think that when you tune into a game, whether it is the Champions League, whether it is the Europa League, or whether it is league play, I think that you can expect really the unexpected, and you're almost forced to watch. You're almost forced to tune in, and it's not a given result. But it's really excellent to see, like you said, the expansion of the MLS and the quality that's presented across Europe. And I think, like I said, we are really in a moment right now where soccer rather, is as good as it can be. And we're very fortunate to see, yes, the parity, but we're also really fortunate to see the quality that's being presented week in, week out.
I can't wait to have you and Scott on together. I was talking to Scott Nason, our host over in Sioux, Michigan with the Game Sports Show. He's, let's just say, very excited to have you in the ESPN 1400 studios within the next couple weeks. So I'll have to figure that out, or at least get you on the phone. And I might have to leave you guys alone for a little bit so you guys can talk more dissection, or I can just be there to listen and enjoy some great conversation. So Daniel, thanks for coming on by and also being part of the show and everything you do for the show. Well, good luck this weekend, obviously, to the Algoma University squad. And we'll be looking forward to some positive weekend reports by the end of the weekend.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here, and fantastic. Thank you.
And I should mention out, because every time I just said he is my cousin, he's the better looking one in the family, so I gotta.
He's being modest, folks. Very modest.
Gonna take a break. When we come back, I'm bringing back Matt Premo. I'm not sure if he's socializing, he's drinking beer. I have to try to fish him back here to the desk here to have a little conversation with me about some in the pocket. It's football time. We did not talk in the pocket because we were off yesterday from Sports Center Bar and Grill. We talked hockey. We talked baseball. We now talk soccer. Now we're talking football. We're covering everything here on the Game Sports Show. So make sure you don't go anywhere. One more segment to go here on the Game. Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. David McCaig inside Northern Superior Brewery Tap Room, and I'm here rejoined by Matt Premo, who I'm sure had a couple Northern Superior Brewing product beers, especially that pumpkin ale. That is absolutely scrumptious here on the Game Sports Show, enjoying this beer that they're going to be releasing out. Perfect for Oktoberfest and the fall season. Now, Preems, we have our In the Pocket segment that mostly a lot of people listen to on our Wednesday edition for the Game Sports Show from Sports Center Bar and Grill. We had to have a last-minute cancellation last night due to some scheduling conflicts on my end, your end, and everything as such. So we're making up for it today. We are not going to be talking basketball here like we usually do on Wednesday as well, but we'll make sure we make up for that next week on our On TV and Sports Center show next week. But Preems, I'm going to give you the floor right now. We've talked this week already about local football and some results from the weekend, but I want you to maybe, if you want to give some reaction about the weekend, more than welcome to, but also mainly to promote what's coming up this weekend locally for high school football and just local football.
Yeah, I'm sure you touched on this, Dave. I mean, Cora was able to win last week against St. Mary's 37-8 in senior high school action, which clinched Cora's third consecutive league title. Cora has one game left remaining in the regular season. However, they were able to clinch it before they having to play that game. I'm part of the Cora coaching staff, so It was probably the most complete effort we've had this year in terms of from beginning to end. We've had a couple slow starts, but it was the most complete effort as a team. So really happy to see from a Cora standpoint. Cora Juniors also played against St. Mary's. They got a 42-0 win, which is great to see the junior program rolling. And it could be a potential rematch of the semifinal game coming up in a couple weeks between Cora and St. Mary's in the junior loop. So really great to see Cora programs doing well. In the junior loop, Superior Heights has kind of been dominant so far. They got another win against White Pines. And this week coming up, big games in the senior loop. St. Mary's and Superior Heights will be playing on Friday. And prior to that, the juniors will also be playing St. Mary's and Superior Heights. And then Cora and White Pines will be in action. Well, they were in action tonight, so we got to get the results. White Pines obviously not very strong this year. I'm assuming that Cora was able to win that game. But no, and Cora is on a bye week for the seniors. However, we will be traveling down to Harbor Springs to take on Harbor Springs at 6 p.m. on Saturday. It's going to be a great atmosphere there. Harbor Springs, we've never been down there. Beautiful area.
Very beautiful.
High school football in the States is number one, and they get great turnouts. We went down to Escanaba a couple weeks ago, and we saw that firsthand. So exciting for our players to get another opportunity to play in that environment, the marching band, the packed house it's a Saturday night lights, not a Friday night lights.
Yeah.
But really excited for our players to experience that, and it's another step in building that team unity and go. It's an exhibition game, but going on the road, hostile environment, different type of atmosphere as opposed to playing here locally. So build that team chemistry and build towards the playoffs. Even though we have clinched first place already in our city loop, it's an opportunity to help maybe get some other players involved and get some more experience for these guys as we make a playoff run and a push to another offset title.
Definitely. No, that's great stuff. Always Preems. It's busy week as we are over the halfway point, right? I believe there's a couple weeks remaining in action.
Yeah, 2 weeks left. This week, St. Mary's and Superior Heights. And then next week will be Cora and Superior Heights to finish up the high school senior loop. Yeah. And then Cora's lucky enough with only a 3-team loop in senior this year that will get a semifinal bye. So this week is also going to be a preview for the seniors of that semifinal game. So I'm assuming that they're not going to show each other everything, knowing they're going to be facing each other in a couple weeks with a lot more on the line. So it'll be interesting to see what the Superior Heights and St. Mary's coaching staffs do this week, because it really doesn't mean much. And what do you want to show your opponent leading into the playoffs? So that's always interesting to see what they're gonna do. They might do something a little bit exotic to make them game plan for it the next 2 weeks from now when they're playing each other in the semifinals. So we'll see. It'll be I'm going to try and take that game in tomorrow night, get a look at potentially who we plan to face in the finals. So exciting time, gearing up for playoffs, getting colder, rainier weather, high school football weather.
Dress warm.
High school football weather outside. But get out and check some of the action. I mean, the Sault Ste. Marie High School Senior Loop is full of great players and exciting football. And, I mean, Cora's been a little bit dominant this year, but the first 2 games against Superior Heights and St. Mary's have been extremely close, and it could have went either way.
Anything could happen, man. Anything could happen in the world of sports.
That's right.
And hopefully the White Pines program, I said on each show, can turn it around too. Because when I remember being in high school, all the teams that were involved in high school, hopefully one day we can get back to that point. Now, speaking of local, I want to give a little announcement. I probably should have it right at the top of this segment, but Jamie Antonello was unable to come on this week due to our switch last night, obviously. He has class tonight there, so I kind of threw him under the bus for being able to join the show here tonight. But he will be back next week through Skype. As you know, it's Connor Henderson was on the show. That was recorded on Skype, as he's not on location right now, obviously. So yours truly has finally perfected the Skype recording. Somehow, some way, I figured it out without having Scott Neeson having to baby me the entire way, or anyone from ESPN or Stu Online baby me. I figured it out. So I will let you know Jamie Antonello will be on the show next week through Skype, and then he'll be back live on the show the following week. So Jamie Antonello had a big part with Preems and with Dustin Grondin doing a lot of the local coverage. So we're going to transition now, though, Preems. It's going to be a quicker in the pocket segment than most people are used to, but we have everything we promoted for local football. Make sure you get out and support local football going on here in Sault Ontario. We're going to get to the National Football League. We've talked about last week already. It's already week 5. We're not going to talk about week 4 at all. We've dissected it all last 2 previous shows, and it's time to keep our relevant content going all the time here. We're going to talk what's going on this week. And right now, we did have our picks. The game for Thursday is going on. I already had who I was picking. So did Preems and so did Justin. You know the drill, listeners. We're going to go around the horn, except this time it's going to be a cross-table discussion. Justin Heike will have his picks submitted on our documents, but you won't hear them live. Me and Preems will give you our quick prediction with a very brief statement about who we think is going to win that game and potentially why. So I'm going to start it off, Preems, and I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks for our Thursday Night Football. I had them picked, even though I had the Rams actually winning the Super Bowl this year. They're not going to have a perfect season. I think that might be maybe New England. But I want to say that I believed that with Seattle being at home and also having Russell Wilson in my fantasy, I've had a great start to fantasy. I need him to be good, so I'm believing in Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle's looked pretty good. Obviously at home, that's the 12th man there. It's a different environment.
Yeah.
They've been rolling lately too. Seattle's looked really good. But I went with the Rams here. I know Pete Carroll has a pretty impeccable record in primetime football games, but I think the Rams bounced back after a tough loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they bounced back from that win, and right now we're currently sitting at 7-6 for Seattle, but I think Rams come back and pull this one out and win.
Definitely a strong prediction. That was a factor for sure, because when you lose to Tampa Bay, that's not good. That's not good, especially the amount of points they gave up. Hopefully you didn't have the Rams in fantasy football, because if you did, you're in a little bit of trouble. Moving on from that, Jets and Eagles. I'm going to go to you first, Preems.
I got the Eagles here. I mean, they're 14-point favorites. Jets, I don't even know, is Darnold going to be back for this game or not?
I thought it was next week.
Next week, so
I'm not sure.
I mean, they're down to their third-string quarterback. I got the Eagles here.
I couldn't agree more. I think that the Eagles, they've had kind of not the greatest start as they have wanted to have, but it seems like that Donald is still going to be out this week. From what I see, he's still questionable, though. It doesn't seem positive that he is going to be returning, but Sunday will remain to be seen. Nonetheless, the Eagles will win this football matchup. Next one, Jags, Panthers. My God, my fantasy football team name is Crispy McChicken. And the reason why it's called McChicken is because I have Christian McCaffrey in my pool. And this guy who did not practice today with Carolina, everything is fine, though, okay? He's playing. He's projected to get 25 points this week. And let me tell you, he's going to run hot shot all over that Jaguars defense. The Carolina Panthers are going to win this football game. Preems.
How do you bet against Gardner Minshew right now?
I don't know. I don't know. I love him, but
he's great. I was just reading today they're offering Gardner Minshew packages for Jaguars games. You get a mustache and a bandana, and you get an opportunity to take a picture down on the field. Yeah,
that's so cool. I didn't know that. That's
Gardner Minshew mania is real. So it's cool to see, but I mean, I think his luck runs out here. I think that Carolina defense is going to keep him in check, and I got Carolina winning this as well, actually.
Yeah, I go Carolina. It's going to be a close game, though, nonetheless.
It is going to be a really good game.
It is. That's more people than predicted. We got the Giants and Vikings up in the next one we're going to predict. I know you're a Giants fan.
I'm torn on this one.
I'm letting you choose, though.
I'm torn on this one. Obviously, being a Giants fan, I would love to put my money on the Giants here, but I also have Delvin Cook as my lead running back in fantasy, so I hope he has a big day, and I actually think Daniel Jones, as good as he's been the last couple weeks, I think they come back down to earth and the Vikings get the win here.
Could not agree more with the Vikings. And how about Thielen? Was not Thielen last week at all.
Well, Diggs hasn't been to practice yet this week. Yeah, today was his first day of practice.
Yeah,
he's not happy. Thielen's not happy. I mean, their run game's been awesome, but they got to find a way to air it out a bit, because once teams know what your tendency is, they're going to stack the box and they're going to force you to throw the ball.
Yeah.
So Kirk Cousins better be up to the challenge.
Yeah, then he better be throwing the ball to Thielen. I want to win some money in my fantasy. I've never won a fantasy. I've came second twice, and I came last once. And then I came middle of the pack. So I've had 5 fantasies. I've had a couple seconds. It's like my hockey life. I never was able to win. I want to win something, for Christ's sake. Moving on. Next topic we're going to jump to in terms of teams. Falcons, Texans. I'm going to go first here, Preems. And I am very sorry to all the Dane Hancho Falcon lovers. I'm going with the Texans this game. I think the Texans are going to have a good, stellar defensive game here, and I think Watson's going to throw a lot of heat in this game, and especially being at home, I got to go with Houston.
I'm expecting this to be one of the higher scoring games this week, actually, but I got Houston as well here. I mean, I think I really like what Deshaun Watson does, and they're at home this week. I got Houston.
Good pick. We're all agreeing on some things. Buccaneers, Saints, Preems.
Another divisional game here. these are always tough to pick divisional games and
important games, imperative games.
Even though New Orleans would be the kind of odds-on favorite here, I think Tampa Bay is going to be an exciting game to watch. It should be another one. I mean, Jameis Winston had a great game last week against against the Rams. See if he can repeat it this week. But I like what New Orleans is doing. They get a win there, a second win in a row with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback while Drew Brees is out. I think Teddy gets it done again. I got the Saints. I'm
going very bold here. I have Mike Evans in my fantasy. I was happy with him last week. I've been happy with him all year. I think the Buccaneers are trying. They're playing under no pressure. So, and even though good performance by Jemias last game, I think the Buccaneers are going to be able to replicate that success in the Dome. Actually, I'm sorry to Dustin and Jamie, but I'm going to go with the Buccaneers in this one. Bills and Texans. This is actually going to be a much more entertaining game than people think it's going to be. I honestly almost had this as my projected game of the week, but I'm not going to go that route. But I'm still nonetheless choosing the Tennessee Titans this game. I know the Bills suffered their first loss to the Patriots last week. And no, not just because I have Derrick Henry in fantasy, but just because I like the Titans at home, and I think that they got to start getting something going. I've liked the Titans team going into this year. I think they're going to get it done this week. Preems.
Yeah, Josh Allen's still questionable with that concussion he suffered last week.
Yeah.
I think that if he doesn't play, I think this is a pretty easy one. I think Tennessee gets it.
Cardinals and the Bengals. I think it's one of our more schnoozers of the week. I'm going with the Cardinals, and I think that might be a clean sweep here. Preems?
Yeah, I'm on the Cardinals here too. I don't know. The Bengals look pretty terrible against your Pittsburgh Steelers, so it's hard to go with them. I got the Cardinals.
I almost regret not putting Fitzgerald in the lineup instead of Woods because he might be running a hot shot. I don't know if I can't even change that right now. I don't think. I have Thielen and Evans that I'd have to take out, and I would have a hard time taking Thielen out of that lineup. But moving forward, I have the Patriots and Redskins. I don't even think we need to go around the horn for this one, Preems.
No, Pats.
I don't think we need to discuss anything. I just need to learn how to type a little quicker, as it's yours truly typing the results here, as it's just myself and Preems. We don't have I'm your board operator tonight, so I'm going to make sure I type Patriots right. I forget where the I and the O goes. Moving forward, Ravens and Steelers. I got to be biased here. I'm going Pittsburgh. I think it's time for this Pittsburgh to get rolling. I like what Mason's doing. He's actually doing a good job in place with Ben Roethlisberger. What say you?
Yeah, these divisional matchups are tough to pick this week.
Yeah.
I got the Ravens here. I think this is going to be a really good game. This one's tough to call, maybe the toughest one of the week, but I'm going to go with the Ravens.
Steelers.
I can't agree with you.
That's why. It's good. That's good. I like that. Makes for interesting selections. A little bit more here, Preems. A handful to go. Bears, Raiders. I had high expectations of the Bears this year, but it hasn't really panned out as much as I want. I'm going to go the route of the Oakland Raiders this week. I just think at home, I have a feeling for the Raiders this week. That's all I can say. What about you?
Oakland's a tough team this year. You pick them to win, they lose. You pick them to lose, they win. I can't get them right. I think Khalil Mack makes them pay one more time for trading them, and I think the Bears' defense is way too good, and it's going to be a nightmare for that Oakland offense.
Broncos and Ravens. I have Chargers defense. I think with Eckler, the way they're running, I think Gordon's going to get more touches this week. I'm going to go with the Chargers on this one, Breams.
Yeah, it's really hard to put your money on the Broncos right now. They look pretty terrible. I'm going to see them in a couple weeks, so maybe they can get it figured out, but I don't think Flacco's the answer there. Hopefully Drew Lock gets healthy and then get him in the lineup because I think he's the future, but I got the Chargers winning.
Packers, Cowboys, 3 games to assess here. This is my game of the week.
This is
right here.
It's got the late slot on Sunday afternoon.
Does. Yes, it does.
1 of 2 games at the 4.
I would have rather been the Sunday Night Football. Sorry, Colts and Chiefs fans. I would have rather see that be the Sunday Nighter. Packers and Green Bay.
Yeah, I think that was probably based on last year before Andrew Luck retired. But this is going to be a great game. I mean, late afternoon slot. I'm looking forward to this one. I'll be on the couch watching. I actually have the Packers here. I think the Packers get the win here. I mean, they're going to be in Dallas. Dallas had a tough loss last week in New Orleans, but this is going to be a really good game.
So you got the Pack.
I got the Pack. I mean, this is another tough one. I can't believe there's a lot of good games this week.
I'm going to go the Cowboys just because I want to disagree with you, and also just I think Zeke is going to have a hell of a game, and Dak Prescott's looking pretty solid as well. And the Cowboys being at home, I'm liking the hometown favorites this year. I think the Cowboys are going to get it done. 2 more games, Preems. Colts, Chiefs. I'll start off by saying I'm going to go with And believe it or not, I had a tough choice here. I thought maybe Brissett and Hilton and company might be a good matchup there against the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are going to keep that undefeated streak going.
Yeah, I got to see the Chiefs in action this weekend down in Detroit. They didn't play their best game, but that offense is dynamic. Patrick Mahomes in person, he is the real deal. The Colts, tough loss to the Raiders. That's a game you got to win if you're going to be a playoff team, I think, and they can't get it done. I got to go with KC here.
I couldn't agree more in terms of that with Patrick Mahomes, let me tell you. But the Lions are off this week. They're on bye week. I picked the Lions every game this week and fortunately didn't succeed. And I'm very jealous you're in the
They should have won that game this Sunday. I was there in person. Those turnovers inside of the red zone were killer. They look good. I mean, their defense played well. Slay was out, and they still played well.
They did.
They had no business losing that game, but
They
Patrick
couldn't close
Mahomes,
at the end.
you give him that type of
2 minutes left. He
left.
drives that. He loves that.
He's so mobile and hard to contain, and it just puts so much pressure on the defense. So I got the chart. I mean, the Chiefs are. I mean, they're going to be one of the top teams in the AFC.
Browns, Niners, undefeated Niners are going to lose their first game this week. The Browns are going to win. And let me tell you, as a Steeler fan, it's hard to pick that because I want to see them climb back up in the division. But you know what? I'm on the Browns train this year. I'm not on the hype train, but I'm on the train of them making a run for it this year. Preems.
Yeah, I think they get in the win column here. Niners, I mean, great start to the season. I think they come back down to earth a little bit. And I got the Browns, and I think Odell Beckham, he's going to have a breakout game. I think Monday night, lights are on. He's going to shine.
Now, I want to say the big thing with the Game Sports Show picks here. If you're going to do your Pro Line lottery tickets, I assessed and looked at the average of the Game Sports. I didn't calculate our full scores going into tonight's show, and we'll give our updates what our going into Week 6 will be. But the Game Sports Show actually has an 81% success rate on picking games. Most of our analysts, if you add up everything into the division, we have an 81% success rate. So if you want a chance of winning money, don't hesitate to listen to us because we have a chance to give you money. Win free money. Just listen to us and go buy our picks. Maybe don't go buy much as me, but I'm pretty gutsy on my picks, and that's how you're successful in the betting world. That's been Matt Premo and Dave McCaig here to conclude tonight's show. That's been in the pocket for the last part of tonight's show. It is a little bit after 9 o'clock here. Preems and I have to boogie down to the Rankin Arena because him and I have to play against each other. No, not in the finals of the Mayor's Cup like last year, but in a regular season game now. We don't know how many guys we have on each side. I don't know how many he has. I think we have about 10 or so, and it's been a tough.
We'll take it easy on each other tonight.
A little bit. I might go wide once, but you like when I go wide because I just use your stick.
Yeah, I'll just drive you right into the boards.
I love that. Broken shoulder, out for 6 weeks. Love that.
We'll do the recap on next week's show of the game. Don't worry.
I love that. It's been Dave. I want to say thanks. To Matt Premo for coming on. We'll see you next week, my friend, obviously. And that'll be Wednesday at Sports Center. And we definitely want to try to get you on TV show. We know we have your practice. We'll try to do a pre-recording or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Tuesday's usually the day I get to practice, but and I got to try and balance work in there as well. Yeah. So it's always difficult. I haven't been on TV yet, but. I mean,
you got a face for TV.
We'll try and make it work. I do leave work in a suit every day, so
it does fit.
Easy transition, but yeah, hopefully we can get that going and make it work.
I want to say thanks to Connor Henderson, our baseball analyst, for coming on. To Daniel Scarpino, our soccer analyst, and to you, the listeners, for making us a part of your night. Scott Neeson, and obviously to the tap room here in Northern Superior, Jeff DeCorpo, Trevor Zachary, Blake Winter, and company here in Northern Superior. They do a great job, and all of our sponsors on the Game Sports Show. And if you want to be a sponsor of the show, don't hesitate to comment on this show or reach out to us on the page, reach out to any of us personally. We can get you involved, and we can have a meeting to discuss and get you involved with being a sponsor on the Twin Cities only local regional national sports show, and also in terms of future things with the media brand of the company that we plan to announce more going into the new year. A lot of big things coming for the Game Sports Show. Next week's schedule, I will remind you, this week will be all on location, all local hockey events and local sporting events, including high school football, college and university soccer. We'll make sure we have all the coverage in and outside of town. The NOJHL, the OHL, the junior program, the midget program, everything of such will have you all covered locally. Just make sure you tune into the Game Sports Show's social media pages and bonus potential uploads. And we'll also include interviews hopefully next week with our recordings. Monday, ESPN 1400, 6 o'clock until 8. Myself, Scott, EJ, and Butch. Tuesday from On TV. Wednesday, Thursday from Sports Center and Northern, respectively, with a full load of shows. Again, thank you for joining us here on the Game Sports Show, the Twin Cities only local regional national sports show. Don't hesitate to give us a follow at the Game Sports Show on social media. And I'm here to remind you, listeners, to keep your stick on the ice, swing your bat, catch your touchdown, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.